we're back. After a long 2020, we are back and back for business. We've always been in business. I shouldn't say always been in business, but we've been rocking and rolling all 2020. Chris, it's Aaron and Chris here again, as always. And Chris, what is happening? We're doing this socially distanced podcast just because we can, and not because we want to or have to, just because we can.
Yeah.
And so how are things going, man?
It's going great. It's been a wild year. The last few podcasts we did were obviously different circumstances, pre-pandemic. And so a lot has changed during the pandemic for online auto parts sales. And a lot of it is good. And, it's hard to say that because a lot of negative things have happened during the pandemic, obviously. But in terms of e-commerce parts, it's been a really great past year.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, right? And as I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen come, 2020 hits, it's like, hey, 2020. And then it's like, whoa, no, 2020 is bad. And I don't think any industry knew what was going to happen, had planned for this to happen or planned for circumstances like this to happen. And we were all kind of in a wait and see, bunker down mentality. And e-commerce took off, right? Mm-hmm. And it was taking off and was continuing to grow year over year. But what the pandemic really did and has done is kind of expedited the process, and consumers are, a lot of them are feeling, more comfortable purchasing things like parts and accessories online or big ticket items online. They're feeling more comfortable, and they're kind of feeling like, well, I really don't have a choice because, some people don't feel comfortable, say just going to the dealership or going to a mattress store to test out, mattresses. How many people have been sitting on this thing? And so it kind of has, like I said, expedited that process. And 2020 saw record numbers. 2021 is starting off really well. First quarter was phenomenal numbers as well. Mm-hmm. The market was great, and there's just more and more consumers coming into the space, and
right.
The real as what we're seeing here is with more consumers coming into the space, with all the issues with the pandemic, people getting COVID and having to, not be able to go into work. There's supply chain issues, longer ship times, shipping delays, just processing delays, and this is causing a bit of a situation, a bit of a problem. And that kind of is, we've been fielding a lot of these, calls, conversations, seeing what, dialogue between consumers and our partners. And that's kind of prompted us to talk about, what we don't want to talk about today. And that's, shipping delays, back orders, and how to respond and handle this increase in orders. Right. And
it's an interesting problem to have, right? Because, in terms of e-commerce, there can be a lot of problems. It can be, well, we need more traffic to the website. We're not getting enough traffic because obviously in order to convert a customer, you need to get that customer in the first place. And that's not the problem that we're having right now. Demand is through the roof. More and more people are shopping online, industry wide, not just auto parts, but, regular retail, it's just skyrocketing. And so like, that's a great thing, right? That's great. There's more traffic to the site. But as you mentioned, Darren, there is a lot of dealers out there who have to deal with maybe less staff because somebody's out with COVID, or they need to do certain things to social distance, where maybe they could have 10 people at the counter before. Now maybe they can do 5, and they have to stagger shifts. It kind of runs the gamut. And then on top of that, you have shipping carriers that are getting slammed as well, because everything is being shipped now for the most part. And so you put all that together, and there's going to be some friction. And what we're experiencing, as Aaron mentioned, is there's a lot of back orders right now. And I mean, you guys are all probably familiar with it. It's not just auto parts. I mean, it can take 4 months to get a chair delivered to your house, or a desk. It's just the way it is. And so, how do we deal with these friction points? Because we don't want to take a good opportunity, i.e. an increase in traffic, an increase in demand, and just throw that away because of these shipping delays and back orders. So how can we communicate this to a customer so we don't lose that sale?
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that we can do is, if you're going to have a longer processing time, if you're checking any one of these boxes, right? Like if you're down staff, if you are, if you have down staff because of COVID, down staff because of, people just walked off the job, and that's happening. People not coming back. That was a big thing when things started to open back up. People just didn't want to come back because they were making more money on unemployment. And so, what do you do? How do you, handle these things? And the biggest thing that that consumers want is they just want to be communicated to. Just be acknowledged. And I say this all the time. Just acknowledge your consumers, and acknowledge them as soon as possible, as soon as you can. And we're all consumers, right? And we just want to be acknowledged. If it's going to take a little bit of time, hey, look, we're in a worldwide pandemic right now, and people are a little more reasonable right now about these things. And it's like, oh, okay. And, we just want to be acknowledged. You and I personally, one of our partners got COVID, right? And he was out, and he wanted to cancel all these orders. And I said, hey, hold on a second. Why don't we take this approach and see first, before we cancel all these orders that we've paid money to acquire? Why don't we reach out to everybody and say, hey, I've got COVID. I'm not going to be back in the office until I'm scheduled to be back in on this date. I hope you can understand. I apologize for the inconvenience. If you'd like to cancel the order, you're more than happy to. But if you like to keep the order, no response is necessary. And if something changes, we'll be in touch, or please, don't hesitate to give us a buzz. And you know what happened? Nobody canceled. No one canceled. And the responses that we got back from people were really positive. And they were like, hey, I hope you're feeling better. Like, people legitimately cared. A lot of the responses, there was just a good, it was just kind of a feel good thing. I was like, oh,
Right.
well, people are, people actually
Some good humans
care.
out there.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
And, and people waited, and he actually took a little longer to get back into the office. And there were, after that week and a half, there were a couple people that did cancel, but 98% of those orders, people stayed. And it was because we acknowledged We acknowledge the consumer. We let them know. I always, say, hey, use the 3 A's: act, acknowledge, apologize. We knew that there was going to be an issue, and we acted upon it, and we told everybody the situation. Apologized, and acknowledged that, hey, you've placed this order with us, and I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit longer for us to get to it. Is it all right?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, like, completely understand.
Right.
And
that's a great example, and our partner did come down with COVID, and he communicated it with his customers, and he was able to save a lot of business because, as you pointed out, a lot of traffic that goes to the e-com sites are through paid search or paid traffic. So you've already paid for them to get to the site. So canceling that order, you're already out money. So you need to do everything in your power to try to save that sale. And, right now there's a lot of items on backorder, and excuse me, it's very frustrating for, both the client and the consumer, but it is what it is. And you also mentioned, this is a national problem. It's not an isolated problem. And so that's a big difference.
Yeah, and you talk about national versus isolated, right? And here's another analogy that happened this year. And I talk about, like, here's a good, the partner with COVID was a really good example of, like, what to do, and here's an example of what not to do. And we have a partner in it's located in Texas, and Texas got walloped with their snow and their deep freeze, and everything shut down, right? For
power was out in the dealership.
Power was out, water shut, turned off, like pipes froze, everything. He calls me up and says, hey, gotta shut our e-com store down. I just emailed and called and canceled over 120 orders. And I said, wow, what, why did you do that? And he was like, well, I can't ship anything out because we're frozen here. And I go, yeah, but the entire US knows that Texas is frozen right now. And so what we could have done is, in that time that you spent to reach out to everybody, we could have done, and hindsight's always 2020, right? But what we could have done is reached out to them, said, hey, we're frozen, and it's going to be a 5-day delay, or maybe 7 days, whatever it might be. Or is it cool? Do you need it now? Do you want to cancel the order? If so, let us know. If not, like, we'll process it as soon as we get in. And I guarantee that he would have saved 90 to 95% of those orders.
Right.
It wasn't necessary. And all that time that, the time that he took to put into cancel, it was literally tens of thousands of dollars. And the money, so he lost the money of those orders. He lost the money that he spent to acquire those customers, plus the time that went into all of that. All of that, adds up. So, and, just acknowledging and how to acknowledge. If you're not sure, let's talk about it. And put together the best, like, let's not make knee-jerk decisions.
Yeah, because it's so difficult in today's day and age, and I communicate this to our partners all the time, just to get somebody to your website. There's so much competition out there between the Amazons and the eBays, all the marketplaces, and then all the individual websites on top of it. The fact that a customer went through all of that clutter and all of that noise, not only landed on your website, but put items in their shopping cart and checked out, is almost a miracle, right? It's great. That means you're doing something right and you're doing a really great job. But there's also statistics out there that if a customer abandons their shopping cart, 80% of them will never return to your website. And then on top of that, 88% will never return to your website if they have a bad experience. And so it's already so hard to get them to your website in the first place. Do you really want to have 88% of them never return because of a bad experience? And a bad experience would be not communicating, right? Because there's some things that are not in our control. There's things that, we can't control, the weather, pandemics, arguably. But what we can control is how we communicate this.
Conspiracy theories might say that you
I said
can
arguably.
control
I said arguably. There's,
but I'm not saying, but there's groups of people out there, that believe in HARP and that's just a road that we don't want to go down.
Yeah, we will try not to make this a political podcast. But if an order comes in and is on national back order, we have some partners that will just cancel the order. They won't even ask them when they need the part by, nothing. They just see that it's on back order, and then they tell the customer, we're canceling this order because it's on back order. A different way to approach that is, thank you for your order. However, we are sorry to inform you, but the product you are trying to purchase is temporarily on national back order. And, really emphasis on national, because we don't want the consumer to think that, oh, well, it's on back order with you. I'll just go somewhere else and give somebody else my order. We want to make sure that they know it's a national back order. They can't get this anywhere else. You can choose to wait for the item to be removed from back order and available for shipment, or we can cancel and refund this order. Please let us know what you would like to do. We are striving to deliver your complete order as soon as possible. If you would like to cancel or have any questions, please feel free to call us at XYZ. Totally different experience, and you're giving the consumer the ability to choose instead of you choose for them.
Chris, do you have that memorized?
Half and half.
We'll put
I have a magic screen over here where I have prepared.
I say that because if you're not utilizing this technique, we'll put this in the comments below, and so that you can kind of copy and use that. It's super, super important to communicate that to
and you can have a canned
consumers.
Message.
You can create that canned message.
You don't have to do it every single time. You can have a canned message.
That it's on national back order is huge, right? And I experience it. We all experience it when you're purchasing something online. For example, a great example is Crate and Barrel. If you go on their website, it specifically says won't ship out until mid or late May or mid or late June. And you're just like, oh, I really want that hutch. So all right, and they're communicating right up front, and right on the on the product page. It's like, well, I guess I'll just buy it now and deal with it, right? But they've done a great job with that.
Setting that expectation is huge, because if you fulfill an order or you make a purchase of something and then weeks go by and you don't have your item yet because the brand never communicated to you, or the company never communicated to you that this could take XYZ length of time to get to you, well, that's going to be frustrating. But if you set the expectations early on, we're experiencing 1 to 2 weeks lead time or whatever the case may be. Just set that expectation. Again, let the consumer decide.
And we've actually seen a 62% decrease in our partners that have implemented this tactic by saying, hey, it's on a national back order. When communicating that, they've dropped their canceled order percentage by over 62%. 62% in dropping canceled orders. That's tens of thousands of dollars a month, and potentially hundreds, if not millions of dollars a year that that they get back. That consumers, we literally have seen people come in to one partner's website and how a partner has communicated to them saying, hey, it's on back order, and we're going to have to cancel the order. And that consumer has gone to another one of our partners, and the parts on back order, and that partner said, hey, sorry, it's on national back order. When do you need it by? And if you're in a rush, sorry, we'll do the best we can to get it to you. If you can, hold on and wait, it's going to be a few weeks. And they've kept that order. So implementing this technique, this process is huge. And
not just being an order taker, which we've talked about many times in previous episodes. Put a little elbow grease, put a little time into it. And I mean, everybody wants to make money, right? Like it takes 2 seconds, especially if you're talking about canned messages. You don't have to write this out. I mean, this is happening so often that we're communicating this to customers all the time. So why write unique messages to everybody? Have a canned message that you can send to most of these customers, and it could take like 2 seconds. And then on top of it, there are going to be customers who are going to say, just cancel my order. Even if they can't get it anywhere else, they don't want to have their order open, for whatever reason, and they'll just come back to it maybe at a later date. But if they've already put the items in their shopping cart and checked out, you have their information. You have either their email or their phone number. So what you can do on top of that is, if they don't want to keep that order open because for whatever reason, when it does come off of back order, you can have that list of all the customers that canceled because it was on back order and follow up with them and say, do you still need this part? Most likely they do, because it's on national back order and they couldn't get it anywhere else, because we have it back in stock. And so that's a great way to, again, you've paid for them to get to the website. So let's try to bring them back and finish that order once it comes off back order.
100%. And it's like retargeting, it's like a retargeting, but you're following back up with them, it's a hot lead, and nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? There's always some downtime, and somebody's not doing something, and hand that off to someone and say, hey, follow up with these guys. And once again, it's not that difficult to do if you create a canned message and saying, hey, you don't have to create an individual message for every single person. It's going to take hours and hours and hours. Think and work smart and plan ahead, create that canned message, send it out to them, and see. Once again, right. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. You've already paid to acquire this customer. So right. Why not try to close the loop on them, try to close that deal.
Exactly. So, and you bring up a good point with that too. It's like, again, we keep harping on this. You've already paid for them to get to the website. There's different strategies you can instill here. You can always try to get more traffic to your website, which isn't bad, right? Of course, more traffic is good. But how can we convert the traffic that's already coming to the site? So many partners, and I'm not going to say so many partners, a lot of times people just look, how can we get more and more traffic to the site, more and more traffic to the site, instead of fine tuning the systems that you currently have. Make that floor, make that foundation strong. And then, think about the brick by brick, building up that foundation. There's a lot of money to be made more often than not with the traffic that you're already generating. I mean, if you were to just convert more of that traffic that's coming to your website, you're going to be increasing month over month, hands down. And then if you get more traffic to the site on top of it, now that's just icing on the cake. Your conversion rates are, super strong, and the more traffic you bring to the site, the better. But, we really need to, peel the layers back here and really think, how can we make this customer experience so great that anybody that comes to the site, we're going to convert them?
Yeah, everything is about the experience, and now more than ever, right? It's what can we do to enhance, increase the overall experience with our customers. And that's something that we really focus a lot on here at OEM, is like the overall customer experience and their experience with OEM Interactive. And from the moment they come on board with us to the moment that they would hopefully never leave. But if they were to leave, it's a great experience all throughout the entire process. And it needs to be the same thing with when a consumer comes onto your website. However they get there, the customer's journey is a great one. The process is seamless. It's frictionless. If they have a question, it's really easy for them to communicate with you, to reach, and you're at multiple different touch points. There's a phone number on the website. Contact us is easily easily found. There's either a text to chat or a chat feature on your website. At the very least, an AI chatbot that answers frequently asked questions for them, a frequently asked questions page. All those things need to be readily available to your to your partners, or excuse me, to your consumers, and
especially automotive parts consumers, because it's a commodity item. They can buy this from anywhere. And so why would they buy from you? I mean, you got to ask your small consumers, why would they buy from you? You have to really double down on the experience. It's not like there's some companies that are like we say, too big to fail. It's where they don't really have to worry too much about the experience, because it's like, you can't get it anywhere else. I mean, I think of that like with the telecom providers or like my internet provider. I'm like, your experience sucks, but I don't have any other options. So I'm kind of have to deal with it. But with parts, they can go anywhere, right? And so it's really important to, as you mentioned, to double down on this experience, because it'll allow you to increase prices over time too. Customers pay a premium for their experience, and so it's very important.
Agreed. So I think the big thing here is to kind of recap. When dealing with these shipping delays and back orders, and it's not going to change. I can't stress this enough. It's not the volume and the amount of overall consumers coming into the space is not going backwards. It's going forward, and it's projected to continue to go forward for years to come. We've already seen first quarter March 2021 was the best the best March in history. Auto parts and accessories.
You were about to say it was the best March 2020 in history. It was the only one in history.
Yeah, and it's a coffee talking, but it's not slowing down. So year over year, it's going to continue to grow. More consumers are coming into space. I read an article the other day that only 3% of all auto parts and accessories that are purchased online. Only 3% of auto parts and accessories purchases are purchased online. Only 3%. That's incredible. That's incredible opportunity. It's not slowing down, people. And knowing that, it's time, as you mentioned, Chris, it's time to double down and continue to double down. There's just more consumers in the space, and it's going to continue to grow. You're going to need to prepare for that. And if that means bringing on a person to handle these communication channels, dedicated person, and I know that gets a little scary. Start with an hourly based employee, and work them into potentially a salary based position, or part-time, if you will, and make sure that have your communication channels in place, right? And because we are seeing a lot of that too, is due to the increase in in orders, in the increase in delays and back orders, comes more people communicating. And what's happening is companies in general are not following up in an efficient manner, an efficient time, and that's creating a poor customer experience. And I've seen reviews, Facebook reviews and Google reviews. Do not, go to this company. I called them 50 times, and I called the dealership, and I emailed them. And, when I call, it says email them. And then when I email them, it says call, and it's just not, it was a horrible experience. And like that stuff, that's not going to work.
And the customers, they expect these things now, whether you like it or not. Because of the Amazons and the eBays and the fast shipping, competitive pricing. If you want to go if you book a flight or something, JetBlue, American Airlines, all of them, if you send them a tweet, they get back to you in 2 seconds. This is what consumers expect. So these big players are setting the precedent. And whether we like it or not, you have to follow suit. And this is what consumers expect. And we understand that it can be challenging, but you have to adapt. You have to adapt. I mean, I remember there was a time where dealers didn't think they probably would be selling parts online, right? And now look at the times. You adapted. And if you didn't adapt, you'd be hurting right now. And there's still a lot of dealers not selling parts online, and that's a missed opportunity. That's another story. But all of our partners who had e-commerce presence in the past 2 years have crushed it because they were set up for success. And now we just have to make sure that we're continuing to follow these trends, what the big players are doing to set the precedent, and make sure we're matching that. Because as you said, Aaron, consumers, they expect these things. And if they don't get it, you're probably going to get a bad review, and you're probably not going to get them back to your website. So,
yeah. Takeaway, communicate to customers, have your lines of communication, your communication channels in place. Make sure that you're staying on top of those communication channels. Your lines of communication in place, communicate to your customers in an efficient manner, act, acknowledge, apologize. If an item is on back order, communicate that to them. If it's on a national back order, say it's on a national back order. Communicate that. Have those canned messages in place. Create those canned messages. Utilize those tools that every e-commerce platform has. I don't know if it's every e-commerce platform, but anyone that's worth,
salt.
They're going to have a canned message functionality, and utilize that tool, because it's literally going to save you thousands of hours in man hours and over time. And it's just really, really simple. And then if a customer does cancel, keep those, a folder of those cancellations and go back, reach back out to them and just check and see. Because at the very least, you are closing and finishing that customer experience journey with them. And you're leaving that lasting image, and not necessarily image, but experience with them, so that the next time something comes up, you're going to be the first one that they think about. So they may have canceled with you on that particular order because maybe they found it elsewhere, somewhere, maybe locally, but you followed back up with them. Hey, parts back in stock. Do you need it? No. All right. Well, you know what? Here's my contact information. If you do need anything in the future, please don't hesitate to call. Really, thanks again for reaching out to us the first time. Really appreciate it. And hopefully, we can do business at some point down the road. Thanks. people are going to be blown away. That is what customer service, a great customer experience is all about. And I can't stress it enough. And now, you know what, the next time, if they do come back, you didn't pay anything for it. You know, I mean, you paid originally, you may have paid a little bit in that man hour to get them back, but then, you know, and that person tells that person, and it spirals.
The
you know,
investment
so
pays off.
Yeah. So cannot stress that enough. Communication channels, communicate to customers, national back order, communicating that, creating canned messages, and that follow up with customers who canceled because of the national back order. You know, so hopefully you can take some of these, implement these into your day-to-day, and that'll help you generate, you know, some more orders, some more efficiencies in your department or in your e-commerce process. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, Chris, man. Anything else you want to add to this before we depart? I mean, it's good to be back and do a little.
Yeah, it feels good to be back. No, I think you nailed it. And it's always a work in progress. Always got to fine tune the system. And you know, we're excited that it's been a great year in terms of part sales online, and we're excited to see what 2020 can bring. Especially utilizing these strategies, we think it could be the best year ever. So we're excited to report back to you guys on another episode and bring you some more strategies and solutions that can that can continue to help you guys sell more parts online.
Yeah, and you know, and as always, if you're listening to us to the end here, if you have questions, we've talked to numerous people. We've had numerous people reach out to us and just bounce ideas off of us, whatever, that are not partners with us. We're here to help. You know, don't feel obligated or that you're going to get pitched on something or anything like that. Because you're not. You know, we're here to help. And if you've got questions, comments, concerns about something, you know, just run it by us. And you know, we'll do whatever we can to, you know, answer your questions and hopefully, you know, lead you down the right path. And, you know, that's what we're here for. So where can people find us, Chris? LinkedIn?
You can find
YouTube?
Us everywhere. OEMinteractive.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're also on Twitter at OEM Interactive, Facebook, Instagram. You name it, at OEM Interactive, you guys can find us. And if you would like to get in touch with us, as Aaron mentioned, our contact information is going to be available in the link below.